Hey, I'm Sarah Tegender, international speaker and trainer for a $40 million division in healthcare. With over a decade of experience working with healthcare providers, I believe that a healthcare practice should do more than just pay back student loans. Each week, I'll bring you the tips, tricks, and experts you need to build your practice both on and offline. Smart people take notes, so grab a pen or open up the Notes app on your phone as we dive into the Health of Your Business podcast. If you think that you want to work with me, but you're not quite understanding where your niche is, what your expertise is, what you need to do to make that happen, then I'm going to send you to the guy. This is the guy. This is Dr. Evan Hirsch. Dr. Evan Hirsch knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to helping you get online, be an expert, create that online program that you've just been sitting on and humming and hawing about, and you need to go ahead and make that happen. First of all, he's done it himself. He's a world-renowned fatigue expert. He's the founder and CEO of the International Center for Fatigue. He himself suffered with fatigue for 5 years before he achieved resolution using the Fix Your Fatigue program that he's pioneered in his medical practice. He's got everything. He's got the book. He's got the podcast. He's got the online programs. He's helped thousands of people around the world, and he's on a mission to help 1 million more. But what I thought was really cool about Dr. Evan and why I brought him to have a conversation with you guys is because he helps other licensed functional medicine providers transition to successful virtual practices so they can have more impact, more success, and a greater quality of life. You're not going to believe the first thing that he does with his clients when they get onboarded. And guess what, guys? Hint, hint, it's the same thing I do with my clients. I was just talking to Dr. Evan when we just hung up with the podcast and said to him that I am definitely going to send people to him when they're not really understanding, what they need to do to make this happen. And then he's going to help you guys get through, name your program, create some things, and then you'll come over to me. My team will work with you and we'll get you into a well-oiled machine. So I think it's like, he's going to be the right punch and I'm going to be like the left hook. And I just see this being a really great friendship from years to come because he has those same foundations and principles that I have, that you can't burn the candle at both ends forever and ever. He's a dad, I'm a mom. We're talking here about there are other people that really need you and need your time. And unfortunately, that's not always just your patients. And so you got to put the oxygen mask on first, guys. That's got to start at home. And I love that that is one of the founding principles for Dr. Evan Hirsch. So what are you waiting for? Let's get started. Let's take your business and transition into telemedicine. Let's find out how. Dr. Evan Hirsch, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here. Woo! Here we are. And this is the topic everyone is talking about. So you've got to be, I feel lucky that I have you here because you've got to be the guy that everyone's going to because, you've been talking about virtual telemedicine practices. And I think this week alone, I talked to 4 or 5 providers about how am I going to do this, Sarah? We've been closed down. So just tell me, how long have you been talking about this?
Well, I've been virtual since the end of 2018.
Wow.
So, and I've been talking about it for the last year, when everything happened with the pandemic and people started reaching out, that's when I started taking people on one-on-ones and developed my program, started doing groups and such.
So, but when I went and I said, okay, I got to figure this out because we met at a conference. And so I did a little sleuthing on the internet to say, what are we really what we got going on here? This Dr. Evan saying he's, you're the fatigue doctor, but, here we are also helping business to business. And so I thought when I opted in, I was going to get the basics, how to create your EHR, the best way to go ahead and show up for patients, like the technology that you need, all that. But no, no, no. You started everyone. You had me. You had me right from the beginning with how would you envision your ideal day? And I was like,
Amen.
he is my people. So, why is that so important to you? Please tell me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up because, yeah, mindset is so important. I've spent six figures on my mindset and business training in the last 3 years, and the mindset stuff alone has kind of transformed my life. It's been so important for my growth as a business owner, as a doc, as a dad, as a husband. That's allowed me to be so much happier in my life.
Oh, I love that. So, give me an example. What was it like for you before you went ahead and invested in mindset stuff?
I spent a lot of time in suffering, where I just, having negative thoughts. 80% of our thoughts are negative, right? So I lived there and I didn't have good tools on how to get myself out of that. And so then, part of what we teach is a daily practice of gratitudes and visioning and empowering beliefs and empowering decisions, empowering questions, so that you can actually have the tools when those things come up. You can realize it's a limiting belief. You can realize it's a disempowering question. You can flip it on its head, and you can realize how much possibility is present.
Mm. I mean, I'm sure that's cool. I love that you just like hit that right there from the beginning in your opt-in in the like nurture welcome sequence, because it's like, if you're not ready for this, like you're not with us, you're not gonna fix what's really broken. The problem is not, if there's going to be problems in your brick and mortar practice, this is not going to go away when you transition to a
Mhm.
telemedicine practice. And I do the same thing when I work with clients. I'm like, who's important to you? I say, that I'm going to spend time with you so you can really show up and spend the time with the people who truly need your time, which is not your electronic medical record, which is not on the phone with an insurance agencies, which is not writing soap notes, till you're blue in the face. Like that's not the time that you need to spend. And I grew up the daughter of a medical provider, and there were many times where he missed 75% of the volleyball game, or I had to wait 25, 30 minutes after swim practice, when all the other kids were gone, because there was something else that was taking up a lot more time. And it's been so nice to go on that journey with my dad as well, mindset, and how do we go ahead and reverse engineer what we want our life to look like. And that sounds so cool, because a lot of people said to me, so lucky your dad's a doctor. Like, don't you want to just be a doctor? And I'm the oldest of six kids. Dr. Hirsch, and I don't know if you would agree, but none of us want to go into medicine. So I don't know what you
Right.
tell your family, but they're like, nope, nope, don't do that.
Yeah, well, I got one daughter, and yeah, there's no way she's going into it. And I mean, I'm operating like a coach now because I want to help people and I want to work across state lines and all this sort of stuff. I can't do it as an MD. And
Yeah.
so it served its purpose. I do have an MD and I'm able to operate from that space, and it does give me credibility, but it doesn't serve me in the way that it once did.
Yeah.
One of those important things that you talked about in terms of mindset is that, the mindset that helped you have a successful practice is not the same mindset that you need in order to have a successful virtual practice.
Mm.
The amount of business that you have to start learning and the amount of tools that you need to acquire and the amount of, I'm just a much better manager than I ever was before. You can limp by and really not know what you're doing and practice functional medicine and be relatively successful. But everything really gets shown when you go into virtual practice. And the mindset that you need to make 10K per month is much different than the mindset that you need in order to make 50K or 100K per month.
I always say someone told me this, and I pass this along. What got you here won't get you there. And
Hmm.
and a lot of it just is what happens in between your ears more than anything else. And it comes down to like managing your time, managing yourself, managing your team, but it's so much less overhead. You talk about that too. You're like, You don't need the whole overhead. I mean, I know I work with some providers and you know, they like started with the two locations, right? The downtown location. I'm right here in the suburbs of Boston. So maybe they had a suburban location. And then it's always, I saw someone that I'm friendly with online and she just got that second location right in the heart of the city, in the seaport. Like this is high rent district. I'm like, what are we doing this for? Like, so we can for the Instagram, like for the story. So, you know, you're there with the background, like, or are we doing this, you know, for a specific reason? Just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But you brought up a really
Yeah.
good question that I had for you. So this was one that, you know, let's talk about providers who do choose to just work with in-state patients and what's different about those who then say, I want to work, you know, nationally or internationally. And how do you make that decision to kind of give up calling yourself, you know, Dr. Evan versus just Evan the coach? How did you go through that?
Coach Evan. Yeah, it really depends on what your goals are. Does the end justify the means? And this is one of the things that is hard for people who have higher degrees, is that they say, I've worked so hard for it. I can't shed it. And I remember when I graduated from residency, I was trained in full spectrum family medicine. And so I was delivering babies, I was in the hospital, I was in the clinic, I was doing everything. And slowly, bit by bit, each one of those things I realized, didn't serve me. Where it was, I started off, it was like first thing I dropped was OB because sleep was more important and my family was more important. And then the next thing was hospital, being rounding in the hospital, it was just so much time, so much work. And then I had to go to like, it was just kind of crazy. And I had a micro practice at that time. So yeah, it's really important to kind of get your head around that. And that's one of the things, if you are really going to prioritize travel where you can work from anywhere, or helping people internationally, having a bigger reach, or actually making more money. I'm making more money now than I was when I had 10 employees and 4,000 square feet of office space and overhead of $135,000 per month, because that was also my revenue, $135,000 per month, and bringing in 300K. Now I'm doing that, but I'm seeing 3 people per week and 1 group per week. And the rest of the stuff I'm still working on the business, but I'm working on the business instead of in the business, scaling and all these other things. But you just have to realize, does the end justifies the means? And that allows you then to look at making that sort of transition.
Mm, mm. What do you see? I had this conversation with my dad. We were reading the Boston Globe together on Easter Sunday. And there was an article that said healthcare is having this Amazon effect, where meaning the big conglomerations, as we're seeing, are gobbling up all the little guys. So it should just be really easy. And I mean, I think this is great that, you know, if you have insurance and you want to use those benefits, they should make it simple that you just call up, call who's in network and find, you know, someone who's local to you, someone that's specialized too, which is great. You know, I know my son had a dermatology thing and I needed to find like the pediatric dermatologist in my area. That was an easy
Mhm.
search to find and get connected to someone I could bring them to who could like physically look at them. You know, it's that easy button. But I said to my dad, I think that's opening up a huge opportunity for, you know, people like you and my dad. Like, you're the fix your fatigue doctor. You know, my dad is the lifestyle medicine, you know, helps moms who want to implement lifestyle medicine around their kitchen table. Like, that's his thing. You know, so do you see that post COVID, do you think that regulations could shift to allow doctors to start to see people outside of their states? Or this was the debate I got with my dad. I said no, but do you think otherwise?
No, I agree with you. I don't think there's a chance. And the reason why, I mean, a lot of docs are like, now they're, you know, the rules are kind of fuzzy. They're like, okay, Medicare says that now I can see people virtually. And so doesn't that mean that I can now see people across state lines? And the answer is no. It's still in state until this changes, right? But then what's going to happen is that people are going to they're going to think that it gets extrapolated to other insurances and other situation, and that's not the case. And the reason why is because you have to follow the money. So states make a lot of money on licensures, on license fees. And so, the $1,000 that I pay to Washington State would go bye-bye if all of a sudden, if there was a national licensure, right? I hope that it happens in my lifetime. I mean, it really doesn't make sense why, if I'm licensed in one state, why I can't be licensed in another state, and why somebody can't get the help that they need in Texas if they live in BFE, and I'm the guy who is really the best fit for them, right? But yeah, I think unfortunately there's too much money at stake, and that there would be a big fight, and the feds would really have to apply some pressure in order to be able to say, yeah, we're going to do this nationally. I don't
I
think it's
wish
going to
this
happen.
was the conspiracy theorist medical podcast, but it's not. It's healthier business, but as I said the same thing. So I'm gonna have my dad listen to this one. We'll settle the debate there. But okay, so I'm a doctor. We'll pretend I do try to play one on TV, but so now I want to go virtual, and I'm like, you know what? I listened to this podcast. Coach Evan, he said I can do it. I can just go ahead and do it. I didn't listen to the end of the podcast. I got the gist, Sarah, of what you're saying. But tell me though, why Dr. Hirsch, do it yourself process, especially when it comes to putting together your own legal documents, is never recommended. Like, why is it? Why do you need help?
Well, there's so many things in life that we are looking for experts and we're using experts and we don't realize it. You know, who do you want to teach your kid piano lessons, right? Is it going to be a piano teacher or is it a trumpet teacher,
Mm.
right? Like, why would you want to do that? Or, sometimes, like, who gave you the better experience? Was it the band teacher who could play every instrument? Or was it, the private lesson that you had at home? If you want to get someplace, you need to follow somebody who's done it, right? And you need to, I mean, and people can do it on their own. I mean, I paid a lot of money to like learn from other people, but I think I probably could have done it in 10 years. The question is just, do you want to compress time? Do you want to do it in 6 months? Like, it makes such a difference. Like, what do you want your life to look like? Do you want to struggle or do you want to invest? The other thing about practitioners, medical practitioners in particular, is that they're willing to invest a couple $1,000s or lots, $5,000 or whatever it is in a medical training, but they're not willing to invest it in their business. And it's like, if you're going to run a business and you're going to own a business, doesn't it make sense? I say at least spend the amount that on your business that you're spending on your medical training, if not more. Like, do you want to make more money? You're not going to make more money by having better outcomes. Like, all those protocols are out there. There are tweaks, and there's lots of great experience that you have. But, a lot of that comes from the messaging, the niching, making sure that you're speaking to the right person and them realizing that you are the person to help them. That is going to be the person who makes a big investment and allows you to leverage your time so much better.
I love to being able to, go really deep with a provider. Like, I love that there's this kind of medicine or this just kind of support and advice, because I mean it's not even really medicine at this point. It is more mindset, and I've worked with providers like this that with high ticket one-on-one programs, it's changed my whole family. I don't, and unless my arm's falling off and I need to go to urgent care, like you're going to stitch me up, like otherwise I'd rather just go really deep with a provider. I've seen personally from my family the transformation we've had. So, you brought
Mhm.
this up. Yeah, you could probably do it yourself in 10 years, but how many patients are you leaving by the wayside in you not stepping up? Like, if not you, who sometimes? And sure, you might say, yeah, but there's a lot of other functional medicine guys out there, and there's a lot of other people that help women out there, but they're not you. And like, look at you, don't
No.
even work with that many people. So there's enough business for sure for to go around for everyone. Um, you help people though with things like funnels and advice on EHRs, supplement delivery, so much more. Are your recommendations, universal, or when someone works with you with your virtual MD practice program that you have, do you customize this for every single person?
Well, and that's where the gold is in every single program that I provide, is that there's help along the way. I'm a big fan of, and I actually have had a complaint in a group that I'm in right now where I have a question and I can't get an answer to it. And so it's like when I'm a big fan and I pride myself on answering daily questions. And so we've got an online community and Mighty Networks, and so where people can ask daily questions, get them answered. And then, twice a month we have face-to-face group calls, right? And then of course there's additional one-on-ones if they want that. But the whole point is that you just need to get the answer to your question when you have that question in order to be able to continue to move forward. I think that's one of the most important things that can be offered in a program. So yeah, there's a template and there's a 5-step process that I take people through, but there are nuances that come up for everybody. Not everybody's in the same place and everybody has different questions, and I'm constantly learning. I just shifted around my program because we were just on a call and people were like, gosh, I need to find more time. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's take hiring an offshore VA for $500 to $600 per month, which is going to revolutionize your business, and let's stick that in step 2 right after mindset instead of putting it in the bonus scaling section,
Ooh,
right? So that's one of the things that if you need more time in order to get stuff done, then this is one of the first things that you have to do. So I take them through my exact process, everything from posting it, how to post it, where to post it, how to go through, how to determine and take a look at this video and then implement that for me.
okay. Can you take me through the pillars of your program? I mean, it's on your website, but just in case for the lazy people in the back who don't, they're not going to go and look it up. So let's talk to them right now. Give them the Cliff's Notes.
Absolutely. So step 1 is mindset. It's creating that daily practice so you can actually see and you can actually achieve what you want in your life. Right now I'm actually listening to Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Highly recommended. And he kind of brings together a whole bunch of stuff that I've learned from people like Tony Robbins and David Bayer and whoever else, where there's so much research out there on a bunch of this, woo-woo stuff that actually works. And if you want to be successful, success leaves clues. You have to copy successful people. So that's what we do in terms of the mindset. What is your what is your ideal day? What is your ideal virtual practice? How to create that daily mindset? What is your why? And then reverse engineering your life with like your lifestyle income plan. So like if you want to make this amount of money per month, then you have to have a reason for it. What is the reason? Is it a new Tesla? Is it a bigger home? Is it a college fund? Is it to help out your parents? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. You just have to have a reason, right? Money needs a reason. And then step 2 is now find more time, which is, how to hire an offshore VA where you can pay them a middle class income and it's $500-$600 a month for you, and how to manage them appropriately. So we talk about what does that look like. I love Trello, and that's really helpful for me. And I use a lot of screen share um, software like Loom in order to be able to share what I want them to do. And then step 3 is going into ideal client and messaging. So what is the niche? Red ocean, blue ocean, making sure that they're in the blue ocean, not where all the sharks are feeding. How to name your business and your domain, how to name yourself as a coach, how to create your irresistible messaging and your elevator speech, and how to create your program and your pricing and what your proprietary methodology is. I'm sure all the stuff that you do with your people too. And then like, what is your perfect rollout strategy? How do you, if you want to end up not seeing one-on-ones and making 50K a month, how do you do that? And so we talk about what that looks like, what that rollout actually is. And then in step 4, we get into legalities and policies, and so we have a couple interviews with some different lawyers, and I kind of summarize what we talk about and like, how do you put a foot in both worlds? I still have my medical practice from people who followed me in 2018 when I transitioned, where I'm able to prescribe for them. I'm able to still work with them because in Washington State, where I live, if I've seen somebody once face to face in person in Washington State, I can continue to see them until I determine that I have to see them face to face again. So those people, I've got my medical practice, and then the rest of everybody is in my coaching practice. And then there's a relationship between the two in order to make sure that um, in terms of the resources and the infrastructure that I have, I don't have to duplicate it. And this is all done, you just get a lawyer who knows what they're doing. Definitely I recommend paying for somebody. And then it's, how do you opt out of Medicare and Medicaid? What sort of malpractice and liability do you need? And then it's the tech. What does your funnel look like? How do you take people through a process that is going to be successful for making them know, like, and trust you, want to work with you, and and essentially you're dating them until you pop the question of, get on a call with me, or whatever it is you're trying to get them to do, whatever your call to action is. But you want to make sure that that's like as smooth as possible. And so what I do is I also share all of my tech where with people who join my program, and I'll share it with anybody. I've got it's all in Kartra, which is like an all-in-one, and I'm a huge fan of it, and I love using it. And with a click of a button, I can dump all of my funnels into somebody else's account. And so I think that saves people a lot of time when they can edit that stuff and they don't have to recreate it. And then the marketing, whether it's free organic marketing or whether it's paid marketing. And then enrollment, how do you have a conversation with people over Facebook Messenger? How do you have a conversation with people over the phone? What are those nuances that you need in order to get them into your program? And then bonuses are like different things with scaling and then actually delivering the program. So like your EMR and how do you manage a supplement store that doesn't require me to do anything, and a lab store that doesn't require me to do anything, that I stay separate from, so that there's no confusion about me being a coach versus an MD. So that was the long version, but those are the steps.
For those people that don't want to go ahead and look, now you guys know. So you're going to still have to go to the show notes. You're still going to have to go ahead and click through. I'm going to link right there so you can go ahead and schedule a call if you feel like that's what you need to talk to Dr. Evan Hirsch all about transitioning over to a virtual practice. If not now, when? When are you going to start to look at this? When are you going to finally take the plunge? Because this could be a really great exit strategy. This could be a really great side hustle. This could be a really great thing just to, even if you want to dabble. I know dabblers that make, some decent dabbling income, dabbling a little bit, because whether you want to work with one person a month or you want to work with, one person every hour that's enrolling into your program, the sky's the limit for whatever it is and how you want it to look. And that's what I really love about what Dr. Evan's doing, is that he's saying reverse engineer, figure it out that way first, what you want your life to look like. So this isn't cookie cutter. This is very much all about you. And you can tell, and since I've met him, that it's all just purely passion, and he wants to share everything that he's learned and invested in so far. So he's the real deal, guys. So I hope you book a call, because he's got some great pillars and principles in that program that you just need to get into. So Dr. Evan, I really appreciate you coming on here today.
Thanks so much for having me on. This was fun.
This is really fun. Okay, we'll chat soon. Thanks so much for listening. I want to hang out with you more. I truly believe your success is related to the people you spend the most time with. That's why I created the free community, the Girlfriends Group of Health Practitioners. It's a safe space for you to connect with other soul practitioners who don't just want to keep the doors of their practice open, but they want to impact the health of their community. Head over to www.saratugender.com and hit the tab at the top that says Group. Go in there and introduce yourself today. I'll see you soon.